Two people can earn the same salary, live in the same city, even shop at the same stores, and still end up in completely different financial situations 10 years later. Not because one of them is a genius, and not because one of them is bad with money. Usually, the difference comes down to something much quieter. One person treats debt like a tool of convenience. The other slowly builds an entire lifestyle around monthly payments. And in modern America and increasingly across Europe, that difference changes almost everything. Because today, normal living has quietly become financed living. A financed car, a financed phone, a financed vacation, furniture payments, credit card balances, buy now pay later subscriptions, student loans stretched over decades. And the strange part is, most people involved don't actually feel rich. They feel stressed. They feel behind. They feel like they earn decent money but somehow never fully catch up. And that's because the financial pressure most middle-class people experience today isn't coming from one catastrophic mistake. It's coming from 100 socially acceptable ones. Take someone like Daniel. He's 29, lives outside Manchester, works in marketing, earns around £52,000 a year before taxes. Or someone like Sarah in Chicago. She makes about $78,000 working in healthcare administration. Both are educated, responsible, employed full-time. From the outside, they look financially stable. But once the monthly numbers begin moving, the picture changes quickly. After taxes, Sarah brings home around $4,800 per month. Her rent is $1,850. Her car payment is $620. Insurance adds another $180. Student loans take $340. Minimum credit card payments are about $210. Utilities, internet, and subscriptions, another $300. Groceries and gas, roughly $700. Before she's invested a single dollar, before retirement savings, before emergencies, before travel, before actually enjoying life, most of her income is already gone. And Sarah isn't irresponsible. She's financially normal. That's the uncomfortable part. The modern middle class often looks wealthier than it actually is because nearly everything visible is financed. The car outside the apartment complex doesn't necessarily represent wealth. It represents a payment. The luxury watch might represent debt. The vacation photos may represent a credit balance accumulating interest quietly in the background. And because this behavior is socially normalized, people stop evaluating purchases based on total cost. They evaluate life based on monthly affordability. That psychological shift changes everything. A person who would never spend $48,000 in cash on a vehicle suddenly feels comfortable spending $780 per month for 6 years. Not because the math makes sense, but because the monthly payment feels emotionally manageable. The same thing happens with credit cards. A $2,400 balance sounds serious, but only $68 minimum due sounds harmless. The brain processes immediate pressure more strongly than long-term consequences. And modern financial systems understand this extremely well. That's why so much consumer marketing focuses on reducing psychological friction. Not reducing cost, just reducing discomfort. No money down, only $9 per month. 0% financing. For easy payments. The goal isn't to make people richer. The goal is to make expensive things feel temporarily painless. And over time, this creates a dangerous illusion. People begin associating financial stability with payment management instead of ownership. As long as the bills are covered, everything feels under control. Until something changes. A layoff, higher interest rates, medical costs, a recession, a broken transmission. Suddenly the system becomes fragile. Because a life built around fixed monthly obligations leaves very little room for uncertainty. And this is where the long-term math becomes difficult to ignore. Let's say someone finances a $45,000 car at around 7% interest over 6 years. By the end of the loan, they may pay close to $55,000 total once interest is included. Now add insurance, maintenance, registration, fuel, and depreciation. Over 6 years, that single vehicle can realistically cost over $70,000. And during most of that time, the car itself is losing value every month. Now imagine a different scenario. Instead of putting $700 monthly into a car payment and related financing costs, someone invests even half of that consistently into long-term index funds averaging historical market returns. Not because investing is magical, but because compounding quietly rewards patience in the same way debt quietly punishes it. The financial gap between those two decisions becomes enormous over 10 or 15 years. But most people never experience that future version of themselves emotionally. They only experience today's social environment. And socially, visible consumption still signals success. This matters more psychologically than many people realize. Human beings are deeply comparative creatures. Most spending isn't driven by survival. It's driven by social positioning. People want reassurance that they're progressing at roughly the same speed as everyone around them. If coworkers upgrade apartments, people feel pressure to upgrade. If friends finance newer cars, older cars begin to feel embarrassing. If social media constantly displays travel, restaurants, and luxury experiences, ordinary life starts feeling insufficient, even when objectively stable. And companies understand this insecurity exceptionally well. Entire industries profit from convincing middle-income earners to consume like upper-class earners. Not outright recklessly, just slightly beyond sustainable, over and over again. That's why many financially stressed people don't look irresponsible. They look completely normal, because normal consumer behavior in modern economies often prioritizes appearance, convenience, and short-term emotional comfort over long-term flexibility. And flexibility is the part people underestimate most. Financially intelligent people often appear less impressive in the short term precisely because they protect flexibility aggressively. They don't just ask, "Can I afford this payment?" They ask a different question. "What does this payment remove from my future?" That's a very different mindset. A financed luxury SUV may remove the ability to leave a toxic job comfortably. Credit card debt may remove investing opportunities during market downturns. Large recurring obligations reduce optionality, and optionality is one of the most valuable forms of wealth. The ability to say no, the ability to relocate, the ability to survive uncertainty without panic, the ability to think long-term instead of month-to-month. Wealthy people, genuinely wealthy people, often think more about preserving freedom than displaying success. That's why many financially secure individuals continue driving practical cars long after they can technically afford more expensive ones. Not because they hate luxury, but because they understand the hidden trade-off between consumption and control. And to be clear, this isn't an argument against enjoying life. Cars aren't evil. Credit cards aren't evil. Nice apartments aren't evil. The issue is unconscious accumulation. When every upgrade becomes permanent, every convenience becomes recurring, and every salary increase immediately gets absorbed into lifestyle inflation, people slowly lose financial breathing room without noticing it happening. Then one day they look around confused. They're earning more than they ever expected, but somehow they still feel financially fragile. And the truth is, many middle-class households today are not poor because of income. They're poor in liquidity, poor in flexibility, poor in margin. They have enough money to survive comfortably under perfect conditions, but very little room for error. That's the hard truth behind cars, credit cards, and normal living. The danger rarely comes from one dramatic financial decision. It comes from building an entire identity around consumption patterns that quietly require continuous income just to maintain. And once people understand that, financial decisions start looking different. Not more extreme, just more intentional. Because real financial stability usually looks much calmer than modern consumer culture suggests. Less impressive from the outside, much stronger underneath. If you enjoyed this kind of calm, reality-based financial perspective, you can subscribe for more conversations like this.